Hi, in this video I'm going to illustrate how we create a merge conflict in RStudio and then how we can fix that using GitHub. So in this project I'm going to make a few edits. Now the first thing to do is going to be to create our own branch for these edits. So in the Git pane in the top right there's the purple button that we can click on. And that will bring up a window like this, and in the branch space you should type in your own name. And this will create a branch called in this case Dominic White. And you can leave the rest of the options just as their defaults and click create. And that creates this branch and switches us to it. So now that I've switched to this branch, I can finally get around to making some edits in the tidy git file. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my name to the author line on line 3. Now, in the assignment, you will do this as one of the exercises. So you should wait until it actually tells you to do this in the assignment. However, for the purposes of illustrating a merge conflict, I'm going to do it now. Now the problem here is that you and all your teammates are all going to be editing line 3. So if I have put Dominic White on line 3, but another teammate has put their name on line 3, then Git is not going to know how to combine those two line 3s together. I'm also going to make another change, so I'm going to add some code further down in the file. So to avoid having too many merge conflicts, I have given each team member a separate section of the file. So you need to decide with your team members who is going to be editing these different sections. You need to allocate team member 1 to one person, team member 2 to another person, and so on. So let's say that I am team member 1. So I'm going to replace my name here. I'm also going to add some code in. Now, a problem may arise if there's a miscommunication in your group and multiple people think they're team member 1. So if we now save this file, and now that we've saved it, you see that it pops up in the Git pane in the top right, so we can click the checkbox here to stage the file, i.e. to indicate that we want to add it to the next commit. Then we click commit. And this commit window will appear. So we're going to add a illustrative commit message to say the changes that we made. So what changes did we make here? Well, we added our name and we added some code to exercise 3. So and the reason you want to do this is because if you just add a non-descriptive commit message, then when somebody else is looking through the history of commits, if they want to know what changes were made in this commit and the commit message doesn't tell them, they'll have to go back through every single file in the project to find the changes. Now, we only have one file, so that's not too bad, but you can imagine if you had a huge project with hundreds or even thousands of files, then having a good commit message becomes very important. So now that we've added our commit message, we can commit, which was successful, And then we want to push this change to GitHub. And this worked. So we're going to close. And now we're going to take a look at GitHub. So this is the project on GitHub. And you can see now there's a yellow box up here that tells us that the Dominic White branch was recently pushed to GitHub. To go and create a pull request, we want to click this link here, where it says 2 branches. And if I click this, it gives us a list of all the branches that have been added to the project on GitHub. And you can see the Dominic White branches here. It tells us it was updated 1 minute ago. And so now we can create a new pull request. And you can just leave the default pull request title. And you should end up on a page like this. Now, unfortunately, we can't automatically merge in our pull request. We're getting this message here that says there are conflicts. The reason for this is because another person has edited the file since we started editing it, and they have already merged their version into the master branch. So let's click on Resolve Conflicts and see what conflicts have arisen. So Git has a nice editing feature that you can see here that allows us to go into the files and see what conflicts have arisen. So you can see here that in that author line that was line 3 before, there's now a conflict. Somebody called Bob Smith has added themselves to the author line and has already pushed their version to GitHub and merged it into the master branch. You can see here with these final conflict resolution markers that it says this is the version on the master branch. The version on the Dominic White branch is what we just added. Okay? And so these are the opening commits, the conflict resolution markers, and this line of equals signs divides the 2 versions of the files. So this is the version we just created. This was our line 3, and this was Bob Smith's line 3. So how are we going to combine our 2 versions? Well, we have to get rid of all the commits, the conflict resolution markers, and we have to leave just how we want the file to be. So one thing we could do is just delete everything. Right? And you see now that that highlighted section has disappeared. Now, obviously, we probably don't want to delete everything. So we could get rid of Bob. I mean, maybe we're a bit annoyed that he's added himself in before us, so we could just delete him. Now, again, we probably don't want to do that. We want to create a new version of the file that includes both our changes and Bob's changes. So how can we fix this file in a way that includes both my name and Bob's name? Well, R Markdown has a way of adding multiple authors to a file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these separating conflict markers. And then I'm going to convert our names into a list. So you see now we have a single author, then a colon, and then a list of names. Each name is on a new line and begins with a hyphen, which indicates that this is a list. Now the final thing we have to do is delete the conflict resolution markers that mark the start and the end of this conflict resolution section. So there you go. Now, Unfortunately, you can see that we actually have 3 conflicts in total, not just this one. So if we scroll further down in the file, you can see that there's other conflicting sections. Now these are a bit harder to fix because although I was actually team member 1, Bob has added himself to the team member 1 section. Geez, Bob. So what we're going to do is we don't want to just delete Bob's code. We're going to have to move Bob's code to another part of the file. So I'm going to leave myself as team member 1, and I'm going to put Bob as team member 2, where he should have been. So I'm going to copy this team member 1 line, and I'm going to put it in the team member 2 line spot further down in the file. And then I'm just going to change the number to team member 2 for Bob. And now I can delete that line from up top where it was conflicting with my version. And I also have to delete the conflict resolution markers, remember. Now, unfortunately, Bob has also added his code, as you can see here. So we're going to have to fix this final conflict as well. So again, I'm going to move Bob's code down to his section of the file. So what I've done here is I have actually copied the entire section with both of our versions down to Bob's section, and now I'm going to delete my version here along with the conflict resolution markers. So now I just have the hash of Bob's name, and then up in the top where my version should have been, I'm now going to delete Bob's version along with the conflict resolution markers. So there you go. I've left my code and my name up in the team member 1 section, and I've moved Bob's name and Bob's code down to the team member 2 section. So I haven't deleted anyone's code, I've just moved it into places where it's not conflicting with each other. So we've fixed now all 3 of the conflicts that were in the file. And now you can see that we can now click on this Mark as Resolved button up the top. So when I do that, a green button appears that says Commit Merge. And this has created a merge commit. And now we've resolved these conflicts, we can finally merge our pull request into the master branch. So that's going to take all these changes that we made on the Dominic White branch and going to merge them into that shared master branch that we eventually want our final version of the project to be on. And we can just leave the defaults. And great. The pull request was successfully merged. Now, it will give you an option to delete this branch. However, you should just leave it for now, because we're going to carry on working on it for other exercises back in RStudio. Now, if we go back to the main page of the project, we can see now that the most recent commit was this merging of the pull request from the Dominic White branch. And if we click on the branches page, again, it will show us now that the Dominic White branch has been merged in, and there are no additional changes at this point on this branch on GitHub.